This is a video to go a little further on our March 25th video. In that video, we showed how to, keep a horse respectful for treats and whatnot. And we thought that it'd be good to go a little deeper on that, because really what that is just basic foundation work. Every horse should be that respectful all the time. And so I wanted to talk about, what is a foundation? A foundation is a base for all things to be built on, or a set of principles for something to be built on. So, when we're talking about houses and buildings, we need a pretty solid concrete foundation. But when we're talking about our horsemanship, we're talking more about principles and what they mean. And just horsemanship, same thing as construction when it comes to, not every horse or not every person is going to need the same foundation. Just like, a mobile home is going to sit on a concrete slab, and, a foundation for a skyrise building is going to go several feet into the ground. So, what I put on for a foundation may not be something you'd put on for a foundation. But that being said, I see a lot of people who have foundation work, and if you watch your typical colt starts, they put a very basic, simple foundation on a horse to where, they get them moving, they be able to control the direction and speed. They do a little desensitizing, sack them out to a saddle pad, get a saddle on them, make sure they'll move under saddle without, too much, get them moving off pressure and bending to a light pull on the rein or a lead rope. And that's a basic foundation that most people have. But for some people, that's more than enough. And if you're a great rider, a fantastic rider, experienced, then it's probably all you need. But if you want to take things further and really show the magic, then you need a deeper foundation. For example, my foundation, compared to the other foundation, I probably do 3 to 5 times more in my foundation before I even ask a horse to start moving its feet. They may move their feet during my foundation principle, but I don't ask them to move their feet for quite some time. And that typical colt start foundation that I was explaining may take an hour and a half to 2 hours on your average horse. And mine don't take all that much longer, maybe 4 to 5 hours. On a really hard horse, 8 hours. So here, I'm just going to kind of basically go over a couple of things. I can't show my whole foundation, that's impossible. And Stony here has not been warmed up at all. I just came out, I asked him to do a couple circles. You can see the foot marks in the ground here. I just wanted to make sure the ground was going to be okay and what I'm going to be able to do with him. But basic, everything's built onto a foundation and the principles of. So what you need, you've got to really, and I'll use a building for example. If you say, all right, I want my house like this, I want this room here, I want this room over here, you're going to have to get a foundation under that building that matches what you want up here. So what do you want down the road? That's going to tell you what you need to put together in your foundation. For me, I like doing everything loose and free. You'll notice I hardly ever pull my lead rope and take the slack out. So Stoney's kind of, and if I don't want him to do that, I'm going to ask him to back up. And if he doesn't back up, But my principle is I want him to listen to my body language. You know, so when he's down like that and I don't want him to be down like that, then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to ask him to bend his body. Notice I'm putting energy here to ask him to bend his body. The reason I do that is when I'm riding and I need him to bend, he's got to bend his rib cage. I don't want to just pull his nose over. You know, if I pull his nose over, I'm using muscles on the left side. I only want muscles on the right side working. So if I don't have his mind firing the muscles on the right side, then I'm getting resistance or bracing. So my foundation principles go on using my thoughts, portraying energy in a direction to the horse so that they start thinking like me. They receive my energy and think about what it is I want. So like right here, you know, I don't want him doing this, so I'm going to kind of just step into him and I want to give him a thought that says, I'd rather you didn't do that. I could whack him. I could, you know, really put him to work really hard. But that's not a foundation of, that's not a principle of foundation that I want in him. Now, if he was biting me, running me over, well then maybe I would whack. But he's just trying to get my attention. You know? So, you know, when it comes to energy, you know, I want my energy to tell him to go. And right now he's kind of wanting to be a little bit of a pest. So I'm just going to continue until his thought changes. There. He kind of got away from me, right? So now Stoney is kind of an advanced horse. He's very playful. He's got a great nature. And I don't really discourage this unless I'm trying to do something and it's getting in the way. I enjoy his playfulness. I just love having him around, and I love his character. But, you know, what I do as far as energy, I want to do less with my reins and less with my legs. You know, so how do I do that? Well, I can put energy here, and I'm going to ask him to move, right? So put energy right here. I didn't touch him, right? So when I'm sitting on him, I don't necessarily have to touch him with my leg to move him. And I don't necessarily have to pull a rein. So my foundational principles take me to where things are very light. And if I have to pull on a rein or I have to put a leg on or lift my heel into him, then that tells me something's missing. I got to go back to my foundation. That's not important for a lot of you, and that's fine. You know, if you want to keep those reins in play, and I can ride him in contact, legs on, hands in play, but I can ride him with the reins just laying in my fingers and still have him on the bit. And I can feel his every thought. There's no resistance whatsoever because our foundation is based on thought and responding to the energy flow. Where are we going? And when I ride, the principle is based on what direction is my energy coming from out of my hips. So if I ride and I'm walking like this, he's going to walk a straight line. If I start to throw a little extra energy with my right hip and send it across his withers, he's going to start moving his front end to the left. If I start putting a little bit of extra energy in my left hip into my seat and still going in this direction, he's going to start moving his hind end out, still turning left. And if I do both, then he's going to kind of flow around a corner. Same thing at a trot. If I'm trotting and my energy's going forward through his spine, right up his neck, across his withers, straight up to his ears, then he's going to go in a straight line. But if I turn my body and I start jogging across his spine, then he's going to start traveling in that direction. Or if I start trotting in this direction. He's going to go in that direction. Same thing at a canter. But at a canter, it's primarily, if he's in a left lead, whatever my left hip's doing, that's going to control the direction. If I'm driving forward, he's going to canter in a straight line. If I start sending my left hip over to this way, he's going to start bending to the left. And if I start throwing my left hip across his withers, he's going to counter canter to the right. And it's just the foundational principles that I like to install into a horse to make things easier. Because for me, I really enjoy the magic, and it really feels like magic. It's not, but it feels like it is. So, you know, like, I'm just going to ask him to move a little bit. So, I'm going to, now, you see he's kind of just shaped to his ass, right? If I want him to bend, I'm just going to put a little energy here. And you notice he bent without me pulling his head in. And if I want to straighten him out, I'm gonna energy into the shoulder a little bit. Nope. So now he wants to just stay bent. Okay, so I'm gonna change his directions. I'm gonna push that hind end out. Send him the other way. Okay, so here I want him to straighten out, so I'm gonna all my energy out in front of him. All my energy out in front. He just wants to bend here, so he's not listening, so I'm going to put energy towards his, there we go. So I like that he wants to focus on me, that's great. But I really would like him traveling through his spine and not overbending right now. Okay, so now I'm going to ask him to bend. I'm going to ask him to stop. And then I'm going to swing him right in. You know, and that's just basic foundational principles that I like to have on most, other than the hip swinging in. I generally wait till a horse proves themselves to me for that. But basic principles. So here, I want him to back up here. I'm not actually asking him to move, so I want to push on that hip, push on that shoulder, push on that hip, push on those ribs, push on that hip, push on that shoulder, keep that shoulder moving, bend towards me, push that hind end out. Nope. You know, and for me, if you don't have this, and you can't just say, hey, stay right there, and walk away from them, and have them wait for you, you know, and if I didn't have a lead rope on him, I might call him over, and I should be able to tell him to stand still or come to me when I want him to come to me. You know, that's all foundation stuff. You know, it's all, you know, and you tell people, geez, maybe you should take a foundation clinic. And most of them will look at you foolish. Like, that's beginner stuff. I'm beyond that. Well, Stoney wouldn't be as good as he is without the foundation. And every time you go to put something new onto a horse, you might need to do some more foundation work. Because that's not part of. It's kind of like putting an extension onto a house. You may need to put an extra extension on your foundation so that you can actually build that. It's the same thing in horsemanship. If you're doing something that exceeds the foundation the horse already understands, then you need more foundation work to get that part of what you're trying to do. So, you know, foundation is super, super important. And anytime you're having a problem with your horse, whether they're acting out or they're just not getting it, it's because there's something missing in the foundation, and you need to go back and do foundation work. So, I guess if you have any questions on this, go ahead and post them or ask them, and I can go into a little more detail. I don't want the video being too long, so I'm going to end it right here. I think I got my point across. So thanks for watching.